Hello everyone, it's Mike here and I'll be sharing with you today my 11th week for the 20-week schedule to prepare for the CFA Level 1 exam. During this week, candidates should complete economics readings. We are almost done with our first review, we still have two topics to complete. Most of the material discussed in this topic is about micro, macro, and international economics. If you have an undergrad or master's in business, finance, or even economics, this topic should take you up to 1 week. However, if you come from a non-business, non-finance background, it's fine if you spend up to 10 days to complete this reading. Next week we have ethics readings and you should complete them within 3 to 4 days. You should complete the following 7 readings in the next week to a week and a half. Try to study 1 reading a day. We have Reading 12, Topics in Demand and Supply Analysis, Reading 13, The Firm and the Market Structure, 14, Aggregate Output, Price and Economic Growth, 15, Understanding Business Cycle, 16, Monetary and Fiscal Policy, 17, International Trade and Cash Flow, and Reading 18, Currency Exchange Rates. If you didn't have time to finish all the chapters during this week, it is okay to complete the remaining ones next week. Some students have difficulty studying these material. However, in my opinion, economics is one of the easiest topics in the CFA exam. Questions are usually straightforward and direct to the point. So my advice is try to solve more questions in reading that you have difficulty understanding or memorizing the concepts. The first reading for this week is Reading 12, Topic in Demand and Supply Analysis. This chapter is a typical microeconomics introductory chapter. Most of us should have seen the material in our undergrad studies. This chapter introduced the concept of demand and supply, along with discussing the demand elasticity and some differences between normal and inferior goods. Then the chapter digs deeper into the analysis of accounting profit and economic profit, along with discussing total average and marginal revenue under different market structure. Some concepts seen in this chapter, we will see them again in the coming chapter. So don't worry if you're not able to memorize all the concepts while studying this chapter for the first time. The second reading for this week is Reading 13, The Firm and the Market Structures. This chapter is also related to microeconomics and discusses the 4 major types of market structures that are perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and monopoly. The below table summarizes a part of the chapter. However, you should familiarize yourself with all the concepts regarding the demand and supply of each of the market structures. Then we have Reading 14, Aggregate Output, Price and Economic Growth. This is an introductory macroeconomics chapter. The curriculum introduced the concept of GDP along with components of GDP based on its terms of expenditure approach and the income approach. Then the curriculum explains the equilibrium fundamental relationship of aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Then the curriculum digs deeper into the analysis of the IS and the LM curve. As I have stated in my previous video, it's fine to partially sacrifice this part of the chapter. Some students find the derivation to reach the aggregate demand curve a bit confusing. So in my opinion, just understand the final figure and the analysis provided for aggregate demand. Then we have the final discussion about aggregate supply and equilibrium. This reading might take you more than 1 day to complete. However, make sure to solve a couple of problems to familiarize yourself with the style of the questions you might get in the exam. And keep in mind that the questions are usually straightforward and easy. Then we have Reading 15, Understanding Business Cycle. This is an easy, straightforward chapter that discusses the business cycle and its phases, along with other theories of business cycles such as the Neoclassic School of Thought, Austrian School of Thought, and others. For the second part of the chapter, we discuss unemployment, inflation, and economic indicators. It's an interesting part of the topic as the material discussed in this chapter is related to other CFA material seen throughout the whole curriculum. Then we have Reading 16, Monetary and Fiscal Policy. This reading is also related to macroeconomic topic. It is an interesting chapter that discusses the function and the effect of monetary and fiscal policy in details. Spend enough time to read this chapter and go through all the material and concepts presented. Solve a couple of problems to familiarize yourself with the style of questions you might get in the exam. Then we have Reading 17, International Trade and Capital Flows. This reading is related to the international economics. This chapter builds on material previously seen in prior economics reading. The reading introduced the concept of competitive advantage and absolute advantage, so solve a couple of problems to fully understand the application and the differences. Then the curriculum digs deeper into the analysis of trade and capital flow. It's an interesting chapter, so make sure to familiarize yourself with all the concepts discussed in this reading. And for the final reading this week is Reading 18, Currency Exchange Rate. This is one of my favorite readings in the whole CFA curriculum. Go through with the chapter as it is interesting to read the material, but make sure to solve as much problems as you can. You will easily understand the concept presented if you solve some problem while studying this reading. So this is it for the 11th week, and best of luck in your studies. If you found this video beneficial, please make sure to hit the like button and leave any comment if you have any questions. Thanks again and see you next week.